All right, hey Ceramics 2 kids. We are back here with our next project. Super excited about this one. We are going to grab the pottery wheel for this project. We're going to be using the wheel to kind of do a little trickery. We're going to build part of this project with hand building and then use the pottery wheel for part of the project. So first, let's talk about these examples. So you'll notice that they're all kind of different shapes here. Some of these shapes have 5 points, which would be like a pentagon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And some of them have 6, which would be a hexagon. So these are different. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I don't see any 5-sided one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I guess all these have 6 sides, but you can also do a 5-sided one. You might also notice that they have kind of different colors and that they have carvings. So part of this project is using what's called engbobe, which is a colored slip. And we're going to be applying the engbobe to leather hard clay when it's still greenware, and then we'll be carving through to reveal the white part of the clay body that's underneath. The slip comes in different colors, and every year I mix up sort of different batches. So I likely will have similar colors to what I'm showing here, but it might be slightly different. And yeah, so there's quite a bit of carving and designing on this project. We're going to use the colored slips on this project, or the engbobe. And now let's flip these over and look at the other side. So the other side about this project, and the other part of it, and the part that's going to be wheel thrown, is actually the foot of the bowls. So this part here, this little foot, is where we're going to use the wheel, and it's a great way to kind of practice on the wheel without having to like center a big piece of clay and, you know, open it up and do the whole wheel throwing thing, which we'll do as well, but it's a good kind of warm up to the wheel. So this little part here will actually start with a coil of clay from the extruder, and the main part of the bowl actually starts with a slab. So it's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit of hand building, but then using the wheel as a tool to help you smooth and kind of throw this foot of the bowl. So they sit up pretty far. You do want to kind of do that throwing part. If you don't, they end up having not much of a foot and looking more just like a coil on the bottom. But it's a really fun project, and we call this one the Drape bowl, and or the engbobe bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and move these aside and show you how to start this. And notice there's different sizes too. You can make them a little smaller or a little bigger. It kind of depends on what size clay you have. So for this project, the way that I started is I rolled out a pretty big slab, and I'm going to use a rib tool to smooth out my slab. Gotta go grab one. And kind of smooth this out the best that I can before I start the next step. So I'm going to comb my slab. Again, I'm looking for any air bubbles. This compresses the clay. I've already run this through the slab roller, so it's nice and even thickness. I know that it's not thin in some places and thick in others. It's nice and even. So I'm going to kind of smooth that out, and now I'm ready to use the decorating discs, they're called. So this is what they look like. They say decorating discs, so that's what they're called. And so here's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided shape, or I could choose to do the 6-sided shape. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you'll notice that that shape is printed on here, but you'll also notice there's all these other holes and kind of options. Right now, I just want you to look at this particular shape that we're using and realize that I can make this shape bigger or smaller depending on these holes that are in the corners. So I really want you to pay attention to the corners of this project. Some of them are printed in blue, some are printed in green, but I can make my bowl bigger or smaller depending on where I poke the holes. So for this part, I need a needle tool. And now you could just go ahead and poke the holes right here in the one that's printed. But let's say that my slab is a little bit bigger. So I want to make my bowl a little bit bigger because why not? I have the clay. So what I'm going to do is start with that corner, and I'm going to go out 1, 2, and that's where I'm going to make my hole. And there's a little hole in the disc. Find my next corner, go out 1, 2, poke my hole. Find the corner, go 1, 2, poke the hole. Again, just in the corners. The corners 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 1, 2, okay? And then what I do before I move this is I double check myself. I can actually follow that little line around and make sure that my hole is in the corners and that it's hitting that same line. So before you pull this off of here, just double check yourself. I could also make it smaller by going in from the corners and poking the dots there. See how that works? That's pretty cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this away, and you'll see all I have is some dots. Now I need to connect the dots. So I'm going to do that with a straight edge or a ruler, okay? So when you're tracing the lines for this, your rule is to not go past the poke, okay? Don't go past the poke. You've got a poked hole here and here. So what I'm going to do is just lightly sketch onto my clay. I'm not cutting anything yet. I'm going to basically connect the dots, but once I touch that other poke, I stop, okay? So just go from poke to poke. And I'm going to try to be careful about my edges. I really want them to be straight. Now, if I goof up on this part and I draw this on here and it does not look correct, guess what? I can just use my rib tool. I can smooth this whole piece of clay out. I don't have to smash it all in a ball and re-wedge it and re-roll it and spend all that time and energy. I can just smooth it out, comb my clay again, and start over. So that's why I always suggest you guys to draw it on there first. Make sure it looks right. Okay, and so I'm looking at this and I don't have any that seem weird or off, you know, off kilter. It looks pretty accurate to this shape. It's just a little bit bigger. And so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So now I can go back in and cut it out. Okay, and again, I like my fettling knife for cutting. So I'm just gonna hold it at the blade. You guys are getting used to this kind of thing now. I don't really need to do it at an angle because the edge of my bowl will kind of get smoothed on the pottery wheel anyway. But I do like my knife for cutting. It's just a little more precise. So I'm following the lines. Again, if your hand is wiggling or whatever, just put your ruler back down and let your ruler help you. I kind of went off my line a little bit there because I'm talking. Okay, and hopefully that will do it. Okay, so now I can get rid of all of this. I could re-wedge that and use it in the extruder for my coil because I need a coil for the foot. But this is looking pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to drape this over a mold, or what's sometimes called a hump mold. Sometimes I call them a drape mold just because it sounds a little better. I have different molds, and basically what these are, you guys, are plaster of Paris that I have created in different size bowls. I poured plaster of Paris in and let it get dry. So I made most of the molds that we have, but you want to find one that's the right size for your shape. Okay, and I feel like this big one is going to be pretty good size. So I'm going to choose this mold. I don't have like a ton of these, but I should have enough for us to do the project. You might have to wait for someone to get done before you can use theirs if you need that specific size. But now I'm just going to kind of gently, you know, using the shape of this drape mold or this hump mold, I'm going to kind of push this down and around. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I feel like this mold is a good fit. Now, if it was, I don't know, you can kind of tell if it seems too big or small for your particular mold, okay? So this is as far as I would get with the hand building part of this. The next thing I would do is I would extrude out a coil. And if you don't know how to use the extruder, please come and see me. Check the damp box while we're doing this project. I likely will have some coils already extruded for you, and we'll be kind of using the pottery wheels, you know, taking turns on that. But you'd want to extrude a coil. The next part of the demonstration is going to be on the pottery wheel, so I will stop the video and keep going with the next video to show you how to create the foot, the little wheel thrown foot of this bowl. All right, thanks so much. Bye.